Let me check if we actually are with going on my tablet here. Um, right now it says I'm not live. Cool, YouTube. I love you so much. Come on, YouTube. Tell me I'm live. I see I'm live. Okay, there we go. There we go. How do we sound? I'm guessing we sound good. Um, right? Do we sound good? Yeah, looks like we sound good. Okay. Okay, so hey gamers, welcome to the stream. I hope you guys are doing swell today. We are going to be doing another one of these streams where I talk about some stories with you. I did this last like what 2 weeks ago or something, where I talked about some. I'm so sorry about my necklace. Anyway, uh, like 2 weeks ago or something, I talked about um, crazy things I did in school, wild stuff I did in school. I made a list of different stories I had, and I shared them with you guys for like an hour. And now we're back again, sharing things that my parents did and didn't let me do growing up. I believe I have around the same amount of stuff, that I did in that last live stream. Yeah, we're just gonna be talking about things my parents did and didn't let me do. Now, fair warning, most of these are because of my mom. Only one of these stories, I believe, involved my dad because my dad passed away when I was really young. So, yeah, in fact, that's gonna be the first story. Um, yeah. And I want this to be like an interactive stream as well, where after I finish the story, I tell you guys, oh, have you experienced this or that? So yeah. Oh, before I forget, shout outs to Nillis Eden for becoming a YouTube member, the $10 tier, and also there's like some sort of thing that YouTube vertical streams have now where you can like do something with jewels. It's basically another super chat thing. I don't know, but like, I just saw when I opened up the stream earlier. Um, YouTube has a new thing called Jewels. I don't know if anyone wants to test it out. I don't even. It works basically like a super chat, from what I can tell. But anyway, whatever. Um, let's get started, guys. So with the first story here, okay. So just like the last time, I'm gonna be going in order of when I wrote these things. So the first story is it takes place when I was around 5 years old, maybe four. But I don't know. It was around 5 or 4 years old. Um, Basically, okay, to give you some context, this house that I lived in since I was 4 years old, right? I remember some vaguely memories of when we used to live, which was in apartments. And I remember the day we came here, I looked around, it was crazy. Anyway, this was there very early on when we just barely moved here to the house. Maybe I was like five, or maybe after we got done unpacking when I was four. Anyway, um, things were a little bit different in the house. My brother's room was like had a couch in it, and it had like a TV. And that room was basically used for nothing. It was used for nothing, so I thought it would be the perfect opportunity. So bear in mind, I was a young child, so I wasn't thinking anything wrong with it, right? um but I was so okay. Sorry, I was just looking at the thing. I got confused with. Anyway, I was looking at the time of when I've been streaming. Going back to what I was saying. Um, so God, I sorry about that. um, I'm blanking hard for some reason. Anyway, going back to the story, that room wasn't used for anything. So I thought it would be a good idea that I would uh ask my mom and dad, again, who was alive at the time. My dad passed away when I was 6, but I asked them, can I go to the room and just be naked? Like, just take off my clothes. That's what and like, I was 5 years old, or like 4, or around that age. I wasn't thinking anything inappropriate because I was literally a young child. What can I think that's inappropriate? But I was like, why the heck not? Just be by myself, And surprisingly, my mom and dad, they both said, yeah, sure. But you have to make sure to close the blinds, close the windows, so no, like, perverts or whatever see anything or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then they let me do it, which was very I'm pretty sure my mom doesn't even remember this, man. But yeah, I still remember it. Like, I can't believe they allowed me to do that. Again, it was not anything inappropriate because, again, I was a young child. I just wanted to experience it because the room wasn't being used for anything, and I was like, why not? I was a very interesting kid. So, yeah, that's the first story. Very short, to the point, but I mean, yeah, my my mom and dad let me just be naked in a room, as long as I close the blinds and stuff. And like, I was just like hanging around. I think I got bored of it like very soon after. Like, I don't know, not even like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't know. But yeah. So I don't know. Have you any of you guys experienced that? I don't know. How would I even word this? Have any of your parents, let you do something like that? I don't know. Probably not. But the next story should be a little bit more longer. Also, I just realized. Oh God, I just realized what I said. Longer, and then the last story was about naked. Okay. Anyway, this next story. Going to the next story. So, this is kind of like a multi-year thing, but it really started around, I want to say, second grade, but it might have been a little bit later. I don't remember exactly. But because so, some more context. I mentioned that my dad passed away when I was 6 years old. That kind of caused a lot of trauma in the family. Myself, my mom, every single family member. That caused a lot of trauma, especially because I saw my dad die, which he fell down the stairs and he was slowly dying. I saw blood. So we were all left very traumatized, especially my mom. At that point, she became very overprotective over me in a lot of ways. In other ways, she became not like, again, it just kind of depends, but she became very overprotective of me, especially with this one case where my mom, uh, she did not want me to have really any like sleepovers, not really have any friends over, except for a few times where she knew the people beforehand. Like, she knew some neighbors, like she would allow me to like go over to their houses for a little bit, for like a while. Eventually she stopped, and then so she kind of like grew it to that thing where she didn't want me to go, but like, she was still a little. How do I say this, man? She wanted me. She went. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, refocus. I apologize for me misspeaking, but basically, she allowed me to go with like people she knew, like friends, close friends that were neighbors, but no other friends, that I had, especially this one kid named Azzy, or Azariah, that was his full name, who I mentioned him before. In Actually, he found my YouTube channel, so shout outs to him, shout outs to Azzy. He found my YouTube channel. But when we were like around second grade, again, I don't remember exactly, but I remember I really wanted him to come over and stay. And like, I think we wanted even a sleepover, but my mom was very much against it. Hey, welcome to the stream, Ethan. Welcome. But anyway, she was very much against it. I was finally able to convince her, okay, he can come over. But what is my name? My name is, well, technically my actual legal name is Joe, but I prefer you guys to call me Choppers. Chopper, but like choppers, like a car, or anyway, car, like a helicopter. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, yeah, okay, I was able to convince my mom, yeah, but like, she was like, okay, you have to, stay. One, it had to be in our house. I couldn't like stay over at their house. And two, it wasn't a sleepover. He can only come for like a couple hours, and yeah, we had to take him at night. But that was the one time that my mom let me have like someone that she didn't really know over at our house, because sometimes, again, we had neighbors sometimes come over, like the neighbors' kids. I went over to specifically a neighbor that's like in the back, where the pool is. I have a pool in the backyard. Where the backyard is, in the backyard, above the fence is a neighbor that my mom knows, and then I went over there a couple of times. What am I talking about? I'm talking about things my parents did and didn't let me do, including how my mom didn't want me to really have friends over, except for a small handful of people, and especially no sleepovers. Like that one was really hard, the sleepover thing. In fact, she still feels this way about with my brother. I remember, I forgot how the conversation went up, where my mom, when like my brother, either he was talking about a sleepover or wanted to go, or something about a sleepover, and my mom was like, no. So she's still very much like this, and she's still very much like, in fact, she's kind of gotten a little bit more, not worse, I don't want to say worse, but a little bit more overprotective in some ways, because for like a couple of years, like up until like, I don't know, fourth, fifth grade, I went over to my neighbor's house quite a bit. Not like too often, but like once a week maybe, or once every 2 weeks. But then after that, I stopped going there, and there was like really no reason as to why she gave me. So yeah, well, except for the thing where she kind of stopped being friends with that lady that was our neighbor. She kind of stopped interacting with a lot of those people. So yeah, so basically, she didn't allow me to have sleepovers or really friends that much over. Although then again, I didn't really have much friends in general, but she did have some people over, at least for the first couple of years after my dad passed away. But eventually, when I got to middle school, towards the end of elementary school, that kind of stopped. So yeah, I don't know if you guys experienced that, where your parents didn't allow friends over, or no sleepovers, or what. Um, so yeah. I should also say this is probably going to be a shorter stream. I guess you never know for sure. This is probably not going to be as long as the stream where I talked about things I did in school, because of the fact that these are really relatively short stories, all things considered, compared to the school stuff. I couldn't really think of like a lot more details besides these things. What did she allow you to do? Did you not even read my whole story? Did you not even just rewind the stream? I just said. Okay. Anyway, the next thing that my mom actually did allow me to do, even though I never really participated in it doing it, was actually to allow dating. She never really had a problem with dating, me dating anyone. Again, I didn't really do dating because I'm autistic, but she never had a problem with it. Like I always talked about, like some crushes I had, or the story I told you guys last time where I did the whole promposal thing with this Clarissa, who was a Jehovah Witness girl, whatever. Like I told my mom that, and she was very supportive. Like she never really had a problem with dating, like at all with me. Again, I didn't get any dating done, but she never really told me like, oh, don't do it, or like, I mean, she didn't really address it that much. Besides, oh yeah, cool, you have a crush, cool, you want to do this thing, cool. Like she never really had a problem with it. So that's the other thing. Not much else to say about that. Again, these are very short things, all things considered. Um, so, yeah, okay, this is another story where This should be a little bit longer. But while I'm going through these, feel free to tell me things your parents did or didn't let you do, guys. Feel free, did your parents let you date or did they not? Did they say you had to date until 16 or something? Or with this next story, where did your parents ever say you cannot drive or can't go out? Because that's what happened with mine, where my mom, again, most of these are my mom, besides the first story I told. Um, my mom, what happened was, I'm so sorry, actually, let me just get some water real quick. But yeah, my mom didn't, I still don't know how to drive, so let me give you some background, but I just needed to drink some water. Anyway, so when I turned 16, guys, uh, I was never allowed to go out. Man. Well, you'll be hearing some of this in this part of the story too. Uh, but feel free to share details if you want, Ethan. But anyway, so my when I turned 16, right, I wanted to learn how to drive, not because I really wanted to, like, oh, I want to drive, I want to be on my own, I want to whatever. I was always kind of like hesitant on driving, especially nowadays, because of the fact that lately, like, I think this has always happened, but for some reason it feels like it's happening more, where um after like a while in the car, I start to feel very nauseous, so I'm a little bit now, like, maybe driving wasn't the best thing, but me, I wanted to learn how to drive because it was like it's a useful skill, even if I don't do it, it's a useful thing. Love from India. Hey, welcome to the stream. Um, Anuraga. I don't know. I came out when I was 18, and it took my mom a few years to come around. Sorry, so I didn't really date for a while. She passed away in 2014, and I met my soulmate a year later. Oh man. Well, I'm glad she eventually did come around in the end, right? That's nice, at least, At least she didn't pass away, not accepting you, which is good. Technically, I could talk about that. I kind of came out. I'm like asexual slash maybe bisexual. I don't know, but I could talk about that story. I don't have that here. I kind of told my mom. Oh, I told my mom about it, and she was pretty cool with it. Anyway, yeah, she was my best friend. I miss her so much. I don't know what the retracted message was, but yeah, sorry for your loss. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, I wanted to learn how to drive, because it would be a useful skill, not because I really wanted to, especially because nowadays where I feel motion sick in the car for, like, if I'm in there too long. But my mom was like, I don't know. It's because, oh, she would be worried about me driving. Again, this is where she was overprotective. She still is pretty overprotective because of my dad passing away when I was really young, 6. Again, if you weren't here earlier, but oh, it's a typo. Oh, okay, but yeah, so she told me that that dangerous or whatever. She wouldn't know how to teach me. In fact, my dad actually taught her how to drive, so she was thinking she couldn't really teach me how to drive that well compared to him. But also it was due to the fact that um, another reason she gave was because of money. That's a big thing with us. We are not that best financially. So that was another thing. She wanted me to go into like a driving school to like learn properly, and that cost money. So just like you had a traditional Spanish mom, very protective. I mean, that is true. We are Hispanic, so yes, I mean that is true. But she became more overprotective because of my dad passing away. Like, I remember her. I don't really remember. I remember a lot of my dad when, before, like, around 4 or 5. I remember a lot of my dad. I remember a bit of my mom before my dad passing away, but she really wasn't overprotective like she was now. Um, anyway, what was I saying? Going back to the so yeah, those were the reasons to give for me not driving. Money, and then also, she'll be scared of me driving. And as I got older, I was like, okay, I gotta learn how to drive. I turned 18. That's another time where I was like, okay, I'm an adult now. I need to learn how to drive. And I remember my mom's boyfriend basically like I think suggested that maybe he could pay or do something with driving, but my mom was like, oh, maybe later. And guess what? I'm 20 now, and I still don't know how to drive. So yeah, sorry for your loss. You lost him, yeah. When I was really young, man, I saw him die in my eye, in front of my own eyes. There was blood. He fell down the stairs, and then he passed away in the hospital. I still hate the doctor. That should be a story I tell later. But when he passed away, the doctor let me come in and watch him die in the hospital. That doctor was so stupid. What is wrong with him? Anyway, if whoever that doctor was, I hope he sleeps well at night. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I still don't know how to drive, and this kind of goes in hand with the other part where my mom didn't really allow me to like go out and do things by myself. Um, yeah, my God, that doctor, man. Anyway, um, see, my mom, like, I never went outside by myself, really, besides maybe to, like, throw the trash, like, really close by or whatever. But I never, like, walked to school. I've never, walked to fast food place for Nillis. Oh my God. Okay, Nillis gifted 20 memberships. Thank you, Nillis. Let's see who got him. Subtanic, Just World, Ronan, New Box, Monkey D, Moopits, Goosey, 11, Jibo, Metai, Elwins, Lewis, TB Sora, Lucas, M Dow, my mom. Shout out to my mom, who I'm talking about in most of this stream. But my mom got it. Fregro76, and is that it? That it. So thank you, Nillis. Thank you for the memberships. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you a lot. Yeah. Anyway, what was I going back to the story? So yeah, yeah. Thanks again, Nillis. Going back to what I was saying. Yes, thank you. Yeah, but going back to what I was saying. My mom didn't really allow me to like go out and like do things. In fact, she kind of, she never, okay, for a couple of these things, she never really said like you can do this or you can't. You can or you can't. Like, but like, it was very much implied by my mom with her tone, with other things, and then there's other things where she did say, yeah, you can't do that, or yeah, you can do that, but a lot of these things were just kind of implied with her tone. So what was implied was I couldn't really go out even in school time, like to a lot of kids would go to for lunch they would go to like McDonald's or someplace to get something. So yeah. Yeah, thanks again, Nillis. I appreciate it. Hey, welcome, intelligent Nintendo fanboy. Yeah, welcome. Anyway, subscribe. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really, I cover mostly video game stuff. I love video games, but I kind of like doing these kind of like autism story type things. Anyway, I'm getting so sidetracked. Okay, back to the the thing. Okay, so it was basically implied by my mom that I couldn't even go out with like friends. I remember a couple of times where my friends were like, "Oh, you want to go to this place that's nearby the school to get some pizza or whatever?" And I was like, "No, I don't think I didn't tell them it was because my mom. I was like, oh, I don't really feel like it." But I kind of did want to go, but I think if I did, one, I tell my mom a lot of things, basically everything. Like we're pretty close, my mom. So I would tell her that we did that, and because of her tone, I think she would not approve. I guess I don't know for sure. On like the driving thing, but yeah, it was very much like I would tell her, and I would feel really bad, and she might get mad, I guess you never know, there was sometimes where I didn't tell my mom things, and even she told me sometimes where she would tell her mom, my grandma, things. She wouldn't tell her things, because, oh, like, what if she gets mad or whatever, but they're usually pretty understanding, so maybe this was a mistake on my part. What did you miss? You missed, technically, you could rewind the stream later, but I talked about a few, like 3 stories already about I was allowed to date. I wasn't allowed to have sleepovers or friends over, really, and I was also allowed to be naked at 5 years old, in a room by myself. Again, don't think it was anything inappropriate, because again, I was a young child. I just wanted to see it. I wasn't thinking anything, nasty. Anyway, but you could rewind that if you want. But going back to the thing, uh, so yeah, there's maybe maybe that's part of my fault where I could have told my mom, and she would have been maybe cool with it, or at least eventually understanding about me going out. But overall, she's really didn't like, I didn't really go out to places. I would always go with my mom, on like the car to go to like the store, like Walmart or a doctor's. I don't know. So I never really went anywhere by myself. I still really haven't, so yeah, there you go. Has anyone's parents did that where you weren't allowed to drive or go out somewhere? I know someone said that they weren't allowed to go out. But I would like some more details, Uh, did you have sense? That is actually a good theory. Actually, that might be another case of, wow, I was autistic before I knew I was autistic. I think I just wanted, because I think I just was like, oh, I, I mean, I don't really have a problem with clothes that much. Silky clothes, like smooth clothes, like a shirt, I don't like. Um, shorts, smooth pants, they're fine. Rough pants I don't really like. But I really wasn't wearing that in when I was younger. I think I just wanted to do it just because, but it might be because subconsciously, maybe it was because of sensory thing. I don't know. I remember the event happening. I don't remember my thought process of like, oh, exactly, this is why I did it, I think mostly it was because I wanted to, it was curious to me, but that might have been like a subconscious thing, I don't know for sure. But that you could point that to another thing where, oh, I was autistic and I didn't even know it for like a while. I was diagnosed at 16. Yes, 16. In fact, I want to make a video talking about my autism diagnosis. I still have that paper. But yeah, there was a lot of signs that I was autistic, and I'm like, how did I not know this before? Well, that's because I didn't know what autism was until middle school, and even then, I didn't really understand it until high school. So anyway, come to Norway. I will. You teach you to drive. I appreciate that, Nellis. Oh my god. Oh, wet clothes. Yeah, wet clothes suck. No, no, I don't like those either. There was sometimes during school where we would have like a thing, like we had like a star. Star is a thing in Texas for like a test. If you do really good on it, we had like an event in like elementary school where there was like a star, like party basically, and there was like pools, and I got my clothes wet there, and I had to immediately like take them off, take a shower, which is weird, after I got home I had to, like, I didn't want to wear those clothes because it was like, oh my god, it was so wet. So that's another thing. I don't drive because my OCD and tics. I have sleepovers when I was like 9 or 10 years old. Yeah, my mom didn't allow those, man. She still really doesn't, even with my brother, who's 13. So Yeah, and like again with the driving thing, I wanted to learn to drive just because of the fact that it's a valuable skill, but I don't really want to like drive a lot. Again, I have issues where I feel like nauseated after like a couple hours, like an hour or two in the car, and I have to like. It's kind of hard. I usually like to listen to like YouTube stuff when I'm in the car, but sometimes I can't. I have to like turn on my phone and just breathe because like oh my god, sometimes I get like nauseated, or a lot of the times. Anyway, what was I saying? So okay, yeah, there goes that story. So that one went longer than some of the other ones, but this one should also be a pretty long one. So it looks like the way I wrote this, at least going off from the list I have here, I have 3, 4, 8 points. It seems like the first like 3 points were pretty quick stories, but I think the rest of these are going to be um more detailed, more rich in the stories. So yeah. Okay. So the next story is about skipping school. My mom basically allowed me to skip school so many times for most of my school life. Most of it, I will explain. So um, growing up, we had issues with, my dad passing away or whatever. So my mom would try to, do things like to make me happy, especially getting McDonald's. I remember there was a period of time where my mom would get McDonald's like almost like every day. It wasn't every day, but it was like every like couple of days, like 2, 3 times a week or something. And a lot of the times she would pull me out of school to pick me up early, and then yeah, she would pick me up early, and sometimes she would even let me just skip school entirely because of, especially for like half days. You know what half days are, guys? Where you have like early release on a day because of like a holiday, or it's like some. It's usually something for like Christmas, like Christmas break. You have like a half day or whatever. But my mom would usually allow me to like just not go to school those days because those are half days. You don't really do anything on half days, and so yeah, I would like not go to school a lot of the time, and I really did get in trouble with this until high school. And even then, I didn't like it. Didn't really get that bad until like later on in high school. In middle school and elementary school, they didn't really care about you being absent. Now this might be another thing. I talked about another story in the last live stream of these types where because I went to ICU, which is basically a place where you went to do missing work in elementary school. I used to go there to like not even because I needed to, but to do like homework or just draw or whatever. I think the school put like rules because of my thing. I might be like egotistical. Maybe it wasn't just me that caused that. But I was a big part of it, I feel. But like I changed the school rules so I caused my brother to, like basically future kids, including my brother who went to the same school later on, they had to have like a note of like, oh, this kid is going to ICU because of this thing and this thing. You have to be specific. Anyway, the point is that I might have caused, because of being absent those many times, I might have caused the school rules to change. Again, I don't want to say I was the only person, but I feel like I was like one of the biggest people that did this. Oh, I remember, love those days. I really think it's done when schools get rid of recess in elementary schools. Or well, I'm not talking. That's like early release where you get out of school early. I wasn't talking about recess. They still have recess and for like lunch or whatever. It works a little bit differently in middle school and high school, obviously, than elementary school. But yeah, if that's what you're referring to, maybe I'm misinterpret something. I'm sorry, but anyway, so yeah, I really was allowed to be absent a lot, and it really didn't have much consequences until high school, where they start to be like, okay, you can be absent for like this many days. You could be absent like 10 days, I think, throughout the whole year, and after that you start to lose like or 10 days throughout the whole semester, and if you exceed that, you start to like lose oh god, how did it go? You would lose something that you would have to make up like for like tutoring or whatever, like you not credits but like hours, that's what they call it, that you would lose hours. And hours basically allowed you to, you keep going to school, you keep passing, you are allowed to go on to the next grade or whatever, or to college. And if you lose hours, you had to make them up. If you didn't, then that's what would happen. You wouldn't progress to the next grade, or you would, there were these things. So there were a couple times where I was way absent, and this started to become a really bad habit in high school where I was absent, and then I had to make up those hours and like tutoring and stuff like in why am I blanking, in the weekends or in the breaks, but this got really, really bad in around 11th and 12th grade. That's where when my mom started to be like, okay, she started to crack down a little bit, because again, she was overall, in fact, she was the one basically was like fine with me being absent a lot of the time. And in fact, a lot of the times she would pull me out of school, or especially in elementary school. But this was around the time, 11th and 12th grade, where she was like, okay, this is getting excessive. I was being absent too much. And because of that, I kind of had fights with her, where I wouldn't go to school, and I would try to make deals with her, like, oh, I'll go to school tomorrow, I promise, blah, blah, blah. Or sometimes I would just get really mad and just basically become like iron or whatever, and like not move, because I was basically a full grown person, so I was stronger than her. Yeah, and I got so much bad to the point where, in fact, many of you guys noticed, this is how I even started my YouTube channel, where I, um, I had to drop out of school. I had to drop out of school because my hours were like so low. Um, and it would take like forever to, get them back up. And I also just didn't really like school because after COVID happened, and lockdown and stuff like that, we used Microsoft Teams, other people use Zoom, but basically we had online classes, and I really like those online classes, and I really miss those online classes. I did not want to go to in-person school anymore. Most people. I hated most people for a while. I had some friends, some people I liked, like crushes, but overall, most people I was like, oh my god, I hate you guys. Why are you so immature? Yeah, I just didn't really like people, and I didn't really want to be there anymore. And yeah, so it was kind of like a difficult choice, but I dropped out. I eventually like a week or 2 weeks later after I dropped out, I started to go to work on getting my GED, which took like 2 weeks of like classes, like 2 days, uh 1 week, and the 2 days another week, and then I think the third week was I did the tests, and then I was able to get my GED actually before I even would have graduated. So yeah. Wait, were you bullied? I wasn't bullied in high school. I was bullied in elementary school. I was bullied in elementary school. There's another fun story where I actually was able to get a bully in elementary school to become my friend, and we were actually pretty cool throughout like middle school and high school. We were pretty fine, but he was a bully at first in elementary school, but I really wasn't bullied like besides in elementary school. I just didn't like people. I just like there was like a lot of factors, and I dropped out. Um, but yeah, so I was able to get my GED, and things are better now. But yeah, my mom overall let me skip school most of the time, except when it got really excessive, where she's trying to put the hammer down. But I was already too big at that point. I was a manly man, so I was stronger than her. So she couldn't really force me to go to school much. So yeah, I feel bad for her. But man, school is just bad. Yeah. So, yeah, has anyone experienced that where your parents allow you to like skip school or to get you out early? Um, like that happened. There was also a couple times where I mentioned where my mom would pull me out early. There was also times where in elementary school I got a thing called Terrific Kid, which was a thing where if you did like, I think you got it for multiple reasons. One, if you did good grades, or two, if you were just a kind person, or asked questions a lot. I don't know. There was different things, and I got the Terrific Kid thing a lot. And for that, they had like a ceremony, like in the middle of the day or early in the day, and my mom would always like pick me up. You were allowed to pick up people from that ceremony, and she picked me up like every single time to go get McDonald's. Like, it was a fun time. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go on to the next story. So this next one, kind of again involves multiple years where my mom allowed me to stay up as long as I wanted to. In fact, she didn't even have a sleep schedule for me at all. I came up with my own sleep schedule for school. So how did that work exactly? Well, basically, I slept like I really didn't sleep like at a normal people time. I never have. When I was going to school, I used to always sleep at, I believe in elementary school and middle school I would sleep at a 1 a.m. because my school started like at 7, like 7:30, and at in high school I would sleep at 2 a.m., which my school started like at 8:30 or whatever. My mom did not put those sleep schedules for me. I put them myself. In fact, she did not even care at all when I slept. I just was allowed. I am the one who set a sleep schedule myself. And this was so this was so bad. Where my brother didn't even have a sleep schedule. I was the one who told my mom and like convinced her, like, my brother needs a sleep schedule for school, especially a sooner sleep schedule, because I started to realize that, my sleep schedule that I had where I slept for like 6 hours, it was fine. It wasn't perfect. There were times where I would sleep earlier, the next day, or I would sleep a lot in the weekends. So I clearly needed more than 6 hours. I thought maybe I needed the 6 hours and I'm good. I'm one of those people. But I think I actually need more than 6 hours. I think I actually need like 9, maybe closer to 10 hours to be fully well rested. But I thought back then, voice crack, I apologize. But I thought back then, oh, I just need 6 hours and I can function. And I could function, but, for a little bit. So, yeah, that's why I kind of told my mom, okay, give my brother like a longer sleep schedule. Anyway, but I still continued with this crazy sleep schedule where I would sleep at 1 or 2 in the morning. Again, my mom didn't really care. She was fine with me sleeping either way. There were times where she would show me something when I was trying to sleep like at 2:30 in the morning. So yeah. I mean, overall, our family is very our sleep schedule is so messed up. My mom sleeps a lot of the times in the middle of the day, and yeah, my uncle also sleeps like really weird too. Our family's just like weirdly like nocturnal, basically. So, yeah. So there you go. Have any of your parents let you sleep whenever? I'm sure most people's parents let them sleep like maybe a little bit later. Like, oh, you can sleep at I think what's the normal sleep schedule? I feel like it's like 10 or 11 p.m. So maybe some people are like, oh, you can sleep at maybe 12, but or maybe 11, but we weren't. We just slept whenever. Okay, I need another water break, guys. I need some water. But we're getting down to the last two stories, which I actually don't really have much to say in the last one. This next one I have a bit to say. So we're about to like 15 minutes away from hitting the 1 hour mark. I remember how I said, oh, I don't know if the stream is going to be that long compared to the last story stream that I did. Well, it turns out I was wrong. um, By the way, I hope you guys are enjoying these types of streams. I really like them. We've only done one of them before. This is the second one we've done. I definitely want to do more. For the new year especially. So interesting. I was lucky if I was allowed to go to bed at 10. Yeah, man. Yeah, a lot of parents more are more strict on bedtime. My mom did not care. I was the one who put a sleep schedule for my brother, which she's still being loose with his sleep. Like before, I used to sleep downstairs, so I kind of kept a closer eye on my brother, and I would tell him to sleep at 11:30. But now my mom is a little bit more looser with my brother's sleep schedule. He goes to sleep like at 12:30, maybe even 1 a.m. sometimes, and I'm like, he has to go to sleep earlier. So my mom still does this, to my brother. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the streams. I definitely want to do more, especially in the new year. By the way, I know a couple of you guys, if you've been here for a while, you might be missing the one like equals whatever streams where I would do like, if you like the stream, I would do one push up or one curl up for every like I got, and then if you donated, I would do push-ups corresponding to that. So I want to do one of those streams before the new year ends, before the year ends, because I know some of you guys probably would have been missing that. In fact, that's probably some of you guys' favorite stream. So I definitely want to do that towards the end of the year. I just have a lot of other streams planned, but I'll worry about that later. Anyway, let's go on to the next story, Sally. Let's continue on. So the next story that my mom, or the next thing that my mom allowed me to do was to actually, since a very young age, I don't remember when, but I was allowed to walk around. You know how I said I wasn't allowed to be going out anywhere? So this was kind of like a weird thing where I didn't really understand. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere, but I was allowed to walk alone in the store by myself anywhere in the store since like a really young age. I don't remember again when this exactly happened. I feel like it was closer to like around 10 years old, maybe even a little bit less than that. But I was allowed to just, go check out the game section or the DVD section or whatever by myself. And, excuse me. And I did have a phone with me. In fact, I still, this is a weird thing where I do where when we go to the store with my like I go to the store with my mom, I don't bring my phone inside the store most of the time. Sometimes I do if like I'm getting a haircut and it's gonna take a while, I bring my phone. But most of the time I don't bring my phone. And that's because I think it's valuable to not use your phone for every single thing all the damn time. If anyone hates that I say the word damn, oof, dang time, I don't know. Anyway, but I think it's valuable not to use your phone all the time. So I use my phone a lot, especially nowadays for like YouTube. But I also just I listen to a lot of YouTube, watch a lot of YouTube, and I also browse Reddit. So I think it's a valuable time to just like turn off my phone and just like take in the scenery, which is in this case the store. And so I usually don't bring it in like Walmart or whatever or other stores. And then obviously when I was younger, I didn't have a phone until around I think I got a phone in like fifth grade or fourth grade. But I wasn't really allowed to take it outside until like in middle school. Anyway, I have a flip phone. Same with me, but it was at small gas station markets. Like a flip phone, a phone. Was that you got it at a gas station market? I don't know if I am understanding that right. Anyway, so yeah, but I didn't have a phone with me at that point, and I still don't really have it when I'm walking around in the store by myself. And I was a young kid when I started doing this. I'm almost like, yeah, you can go out. I trust you. You're mature enough, and I was allowed to just go and walk around in the store, and it was overall pretty good. There was one time where it was a little bit like scary because there was one time where I couldn't find my mom. Like it's been like 30 minutes. Usually I find my mom pretty quickly. Like if I go do something, like go check the games, she tells me, oh, I'm gonna be in this section, or I tell her where she's gonna be, and then she tells me, oh, I'm gonna be in the food section or in the makeup section or whatever. So I'm like, okay, and then I'll go, and then I usually find her. But this time I couldn't find my mom anywhere, and I was like pretty young. Like I think I was under like 13. And I was like crying. This was the time where I'm like, okay, maybe this was not a good idea for me to be by myself and not have a phone with me. I found two people that were like, oh, like two adults that were like, oh, you lost your mom or whatever. Maybe we should go help him by calling in the speaker, like going to the front thing. But luckily, as I was going with them, I saw my mom, and then I said, oh, there she is. Thank you or whatever. Um, which was really hard for me, again, being antisocial, being autistic. I have trouble talking with people. So, yeah, that was a bit scary. But overall, most of the time, I can find my mom pretty easily. She tells me where she's going to be, and she trusts me, because I'm mature or whatever. My phone was made in 1814 or something. It's so old. Oh, my God. Yeah, my mom allowed me to do that. And you know what's weird? My brother has started to become, he's barely now, as 13, a little bit earlier, like 12, later in 12, he started to want to go around and move around on his own as well, and my mom allowed him to do that, but she told me she's still very hesitant on him because with me it was more easy for her to trust me more to be by myself, because of the fact that like I was seen, and like I was pretty mature for my age, I talked about this in like a podcast episode. I have an autism podcast, in case you don't know, but I talked about how it's weird how I have like a fluctuating maturity where when I was really young, I felt more mature for my age, and nowadays I still feel pretty mature. But there's also some things where I'm like, oh, I'm not really mature, I don't have a job, like a real job, really. YouTube is kind of a thing, but I don't have like a real job, like a real normal person's thing that other adults have. I don't know how to drive, so I don't really feel mature in some cases like that. But anyway, the point being that my mom trusted me, and she doesn't really trust my brother, but my brother was like, oh, I gotta go do this thing by myself. And my mom was like, okay, fine. But like she and even me, we were both like, he shouldn't be out by himself, and I'm sure he would get mad if he heard me say that, because you know like he is growing up. I still see him as a kid, as a baby, basically. I remember when he was just born, and I still see him as a really young kid, a really young person, and yeah, I just don't trust him being by himself, but I guess like that's the contrast between me and him, so yeah. Oh god, I gotta take another water break, guys. Probably gotta get water after this. mm. My god, let me just stretch real quick. Oh my god. My god. So we got one last story to share with you guys. Also, has any of your guys' parents, let you walk around in the store by yourself? Again, that's a little bit weird considering the fact that my mom didn't really let me go out by myself. So, anyway, let's go on to the final story here, Sally. So, this is going to be relatively short, all things considered. I don't really have much to say, but basically, okay, sorry, I got a Discord message there. Anyway, so here's the next story. So, growing up, this was always weird to me, and I don't understand why my mom allowed this. Probably due to the maturity thing, where she felt I was mature enough to handle these things. But in some cases, I feel like that was kind of a detriment because, for especially some things. So, my mom would allow me to watch mature shows and movies since I was really young. Now, what kind of mature things? Well, stuff like things that have swears in them since I was really young, and stuff like nothing really like sexual stuff because that's kind of gross. She doesn't even really care about that stuff, what she told me. Anyway, nothing really like that, but like, stuff like crude humor, some scary stuff, horror stuff. That's the part where I'm like, oh, I don't think that was a good thing to show me. But there were other things where like she showed me these things like Golden Girls, which I appreciate. That's an older show, but it's more obviously more mature, because it talks about women stuff, like there's a lot of things with Golden Girls, Monk, crime shows. Monk is a detective, so great show by the way. Like many other things. She allowed me, and I always liked that. I like those shows, and I'm happy my mom showed me those things. But the ones where I'm not happy my mom showed me was horror stuff because the horror things traumatized the heck out of me. They were I still remember this one vivid memory of this movie called The Omen, I believe that's what it was called, where my mom watched it. I think it's about like a demon child or something, and like a devil child like a devil incarnated in a child, and there's like a church thing. I don't remember exactly. All I remember is that it was scary and it horrified me, and I like there were other movies where my mom would show like horror stuff, and I was like, I don't want to see it. Eventually I stand up and was like, mom, please don't show me any horror stuff. So she didn't really watch any horror stuff for a while. We just watched like some more adult stuff that had like swears in them, or adult jokes, stuff like that. But the horror stuff, she mostly didn't watch it in front of me, which is good. I appreciate that. But for like the first bit there, she did show me that, and I was horrified. So, yeah, my mom allowed me to watch those things, mature shows, movies. Again, to varying degrees. Like, oh, it might be a mature thing. Like, it kind of depends on how you classify maturity. Like, I classify maturity as having some adult themes. Some swear words, obviously. Maybe some sexual things here and there, but we didn't watch anything that bad. Like because again that's weird. But maybe something that had like a scene in it of two adults doing it. Not like directly in front of your face, but like imply. Basically, that's what I classify it as. But the one thing I regret is the scary stuff. uh, yeah, Omen is far away from being a children movie. Yeah, I agree. That's why it traumatized me. Oh my god, yeah, Omen. I mean, again, she just thought I was, and I was mostly pretty mature for my age, and I could handle a lot of these things, a lot of these shows and movies that were more for adults. But the horror stuff, no, that's kind of what put me off of horror in general. My mom is what caused me to be scared of horror games as well. You know how, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know how I'm scared of horror games? In fact, I only played like 1 hour of Outcast or Outlast, whatever. Outlast, I think that's what the game is called, because it was available on the PlayStation for $5. I played it on a stream a while ago, and I was scared to even like. I delayed like playing the game. Like I spent like 15 or 10 minutes like doing an intro because I was scared of playing that game. So yeah, basically you could blame my mom for me being scared of like horror games and horror stuff in general. So yeah, but that's all I really have. Although there was something. Oh yeah, there was another thing. Well, no, I don't really have much to say. Because someone brought up about coming out. I guess I could talk about this real quick. It doesn't really apply really, but my mom was pretty cool with me, kind of basically coming out. I'm weird. My sexuality is weird. I'm pretty straight for the most part, but I am. Well, the one thing I know of for sure is like I'm asexual, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically you don't want to do anything involving like sex or all that nasty stuff. You don't really, not that you can't do it, it just kind of depends on the person. Maybe some people are more willing, some asexual people are more willing to do like that if it's with the right person, but overall they're not willing to do that for the most part. I am that, but I also was thinking that maybe I was by maybe a little bit. I don't know. So I told my mom this, and she was pretty cool with me. She, she was also pretty cool with me. Telling her about autism. I was really terrified. That was my coming out, my true coming out thing, coming out as autistic. Because I was like, that was my true thing where I was like, oh, am I terrified that my mom is she gonna accept me or whatever? And she did. She loves me. She felt a bit bad because of the fact that she still feels bad about this where she feels like she should have noticed this. She should have found a doctor sooner. It's her fault for not noticing. But overall, she doesn't blame me. She blames herself, which is not good still. But that's my true coming out thing, which was about related to autism. But she was cool with that, and then I was also cool with the asexual thing as well. So yeah. Anyway, we hit 1 hour exactly now, 60 minutes. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I really, who is your unc? Who is my unc? What about him? My uncle. I have two different uncles on my mom's side. I have even more uncles and one aunt on my dad's side. But I don't ever really see my mom's side of the family. But you talk about the one that I said had a weird sleep schedule. His name is like Uncle. We call him Uncle Joe. There's a lot of people in my family named Joe, by the way, or Jose. But we call him that. I also have another uncle called Tony. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I don't really interact with them that much because I'm socially awkward. I like with my grandma. I love my grandma, but I don't really talk to her privately that much. And with my uncles, not really that much either. Your uncle are cool. You mean uncle, right? I mean, they're pretty fine, pretty cool. This is another thing actually. This is another thing actually. Before I go, my uncle Tony or whatever. This is actually relates to the thing where I was allowed to go out in the store by myself. So actually, like when I remember when my brother was being born, like my grandma had to take care of me for a bit, like I don't know, a few days while my mom was like in labor in the hospital. I was with my grandma, and then eventually my uncle came and picked me up, and we went to the store with him and my cousin. We went to the store because my mom needed something or whatever. And I remember my uncle did not want me or my cousin, whose name is Jacob, by the way, but he did not want us to be out. Like this was a really weird stark contrast because he didn't really want us to go out and go get something or go look around by ourselves. We had to be nearby. I think he allowed us to be a little bit farther away, but he had to see us. So that was a weird thing where I this was a weird because I'm like, wow, I usually go by myself, but this time my uncle was like, oh, he doesn't want me to go by myself. But different rules for different people. So that's a thing I forgot to mention. So good thing you mentioned about my uncle. So yeah. But anyway, I think that's gonna be it, guys. Before we go, let me actually cross this thing off of my list here. I have a list of video ideas that I want to do, including streams. I don't know if you could see some of those, but I crossed some of them out. If you saw, like, I sold this off. I want to do another one of these streams where I talk about weird dreams I've had, because I think that could be really fun, showcasing, because I remember a lot of my dreams. I remember so much detail about my dreams. I think it could be fun to share it with you guys. So, yeah, let me know if you want to see that. I'm probably going to do that, like, in next year when the new year starts at some point. Because I do want to do another one of the one like equals whatever streams before this year ends. So, yeah. But I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll do the weirdest streams thing sooner. rather than later. I don't know. We'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. I very much appreciate it. You know, it helps out the channel. Feel free to check out my stuff, my short that I posted today, and then a video that's going to come out. I think it's a vocal cover. Yes. It's another Christmas vocal cover that's coming out in 1 hour and 40 minutes. So, yeah, that's going to be it for me. Thanks again, Nicholas, for the 20 gifted memberships. I appreciate it. And again, I appreciate you becoming a $10 YouTube member. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you all actually tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a Final Fantasy 16 stream. We're going to be finally continuing that game. So be there or be a square. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.